My golden child brother deliberately set his barbecue party on the same day as my birthday. As expected, our parents chose to attend his party. Even my wife and daughter. I understand, I replied. On the birthday, they rushed to check my venue and were left speechless. Because my name's Henry Blake, and I swear I didn't do anything in a past life to deserve this family. I've seen petty, I've seen dramatic, I've even seen my cousin fake an asthma attack to get out of splitting the dinner bill. But what my brother pulled this year, that was a masterclass in passive-aggressive family warfare. The kind of thing that should come with a diploma and a theme song. So here's how it went down. My 39th birthday. Yeah, that emotionally fragile age when you're one candle away from buying a sports car out of spite, was supposed to be a quiet day. Maybe dinner with my wife Nora, a few sarcastic texts from friends, and my teenage daughter Sophie pretending to like the socks I bought myself because no one else would. Instead, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing like it owed me money. It was a text from my brother, Kyle, the golden child, the family's human participation trophy. Yo bro, barbecue at my place next Saturday. Let's make it epic. I blinked. Next Saturday. My birthday. My birthday. I reread it just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Nope. There it was, in all its caps-locked glory. A full-blown backyard festival planned for the same day the universe had scheduled my personal celebration of existence. At first, I thought maybe he forgot. You know, the way people forget their passwords or basic empathy. So I called him. Hey, man, I said, doing my best to sound casual. You realize next Saturday's my birthday, right? Oh shoot, Kyle said, his voice fake surprised enough to win an Oscar. Total coincidence, bro. I already booked the smoker and invited everyone. But hey, we can celebrate you there too. Now, if you're new to sibling rivalry, that's like someone throwing their wedding on your anniversary and saying, but babe, we can toast to you during dessert. I laughed, that polite, fake kind of laugh people use when their soul is filing a complaint with HR. Oh, sure, Kyle. Totally fine. Awesome, bro. You're the best. You always take things so well. Yeah, I bet I do. When I told Nora later that night, she was sitting at the kitchen counter scrolling through Pinterest like it was her spiritual guidebook. Kyle's having his barbecue on my birthday, I said, trying to sound calm. She looked up. Oh, that's this weekend? I completely forgot. Yeah, me too, I said. I only have a reminder tattooed on my birth certificate. She gave me that patient wife look, the one that says, I'm not listening, but I'll pretend until Netflix loads. Honey, Kyle's barbecue is kind of a family thing. Maybe we could celebrate yours next week. Next week, I repeated. What am I supposed to do? Reheat my feelings in the microwave. She smiled like she thought I was joking. I wasn't. Then came the group chat betrayal. Mom chimed in with her standard line. Henry, sweetie, Kyle's party is tradition. We'll make it up to you. Make it up to me. My entire childhood had been one long make it up to you. Kyle got the new bike. I got his old helmet as a keepsake. He got braces. I got told to smile less. The man could rob a bank, and my parents would say, he's just expressing his creativity. By Wednesday, it was official. My parents, my wife, and even my teenage daughter had RSVP'd to Kyle's barbecue. I got left with a calendar reminder that said Henry's birthday, optional. When I asked Sophie if she'd at least grab lunch with me, she said, Dad, Uncle Kyle's party is going to have a bounce house and Esmo race. You can come too if you want. A bounce house. For grown adults. But yeah, I'm sure that's what makes a man a legend. Thanks, kiddo, I said, pretending my soul wasn't dying inside. By Thursday, I accepted it. My own family had chosen ribs over me. I smiled, nodded, did the whole supportive older brother act. I even told Kyle, hey man, no hard feelings. He replied with a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up emoji. That's not communication. That's digital middle finger energy. But here's the thing about me. I don't get even. I get creative. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just going to take the hit and move on. Oh no. If my family wanted to attend the Church of Kyle on my holy day of birth, I was going to give them a sermon they'd never forget. The first step was acceptance, at least on the surface. Friday night, we all had dinner at my parents' house. Mom was setting the table, humming Sweet Caroline, like we were in a karaoke bar, and Dad was talking about how excited he was for Kyle's legendary brisket. Yeah, I said. He must have learned everything he knows from watching YouTube videos between selfies. Mom gave me that look. The one that says, "Don't ruin this, Henry." I poured myself some wine and toasted silently to being invisible. Kyle walked in 20 minutes late, wearing sunglasses indoors and a shirt that said Grill Daddy. Because of course he did. He kissed Mom on the cheek, high-fived Dad, hugged Nora, and gave me that smirk people reserve for toddlers and losers. "Hey, big bro," he said. "Ready for the weekend?" "More than you know," I replied, and I meant it. See, by then, a small ember of revenge had started burning in my chest. I didn't know what form it would take yet, but I could feel it forming, something delicious, dramatic, and just the right amount of petty. Saturday morning, the day before my birthday, I decided to test how deep this favoritism ran. I called Mom and said, "Hey, I was thinking of maybe having a small get-together tomorrow, just close family." "Oh, honey," she said, "you know Kyle already planned his event. It'd be awkward to have two things at once." "Awkward," I said. "Right. Wouldn't want to confuse the guests with too many options, like love and loyalty." "What was that?" she asked. "Nothing, Mom. Just excited for the party." When I hung up, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The smirk staring back wasn't pretty. It was the smirk of a man plotting something borderline diabolical. Later that day, I ran into my neighbor, Mr. Dalton, retired firefighter, gossip king of the cul-de-sac, and unofficial judge of all backyard affairs. He asked if I was going to Kyle's Big Bash. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, "but I'm thinking of hosting my own next year." "Oh yeah," he said, leaning on his rake. "Gonna top your brother's?" I smiled. "Oh, I'll do more than that. I'll redefine the word barbecue." That night, I sat on my porch with a beer and my old college buddy Marcus on speakerphone. Marcus was one of those friends who could turn a church bake sale into a Las Vegas afterparty. He listened to my rant in silence until I finished. Then he said, "So, your brother hijacked your birthday. You know what you gotta do, right?" "What?" "Spike his sauce with hot pepper." "No, bro," he said. "You gotta outshine him. Host your own barbecue next year. Make it legendary. Like the Met Gala, but with more beer and fewer Kardashians." I chuckled. "You think?" "Think," Marcus said. "I know, but don't wait till next year. Do it now. Tomorrow. Make it your day." I nearly spit my drink. "Tomorrow? You mean while Kyle's party's happening?" "Exactly. Double booking, double drama. It's poetic justice with a side of ribs." At first, I laughed it off, but the more I thought about it, the more it sounded right. I mean, Kyle started this war. I was just choosing the battlefield. So I made a list. Venue? My backyard was too small, but I knew a guy who owed me a favor at the community park. Food. I'd call in every caterer I'd ever tipped. Entertainment? Marcus had connections. DJs, comedians, maybe even a magician who looked like he owed taxes. Guests? Anyone who'd ever smiled at me twice was getting an invite. By midnight, I had a vision. And maybe a little too much whiskey, but visions need fuel. The next morning, my actual birthday, I woke up to an empty house. Nora was already gone, probably frosting Kyle's cupcakes or adjusting his napkins by mood lighting. Sophie had left a note that said, "Love you, Dad. Can we celebrate next week?" Next week. Again. I sat there for a full minute, staring at that note like it was a breakup letter. Then I smiled. Because if no one wanted to celebrate me, I'd celebrate myself harder than anyone ever had. I grabbed my phone, called Marcus, and said, "Operation Comeback Barbecue is a go." He hooped so loud I think my neighbors called the cops. "Let's go." "Bro, this is about to be biblical." And that's how it started. The greatest, pettiest, most beautifully chaotic idea I'd ever had. While my family geared up for Kyle's annual ego parade, I was about to plan the kind of birthday that would make history. As I sat back with my coffee, I pictured it. The laughter, the lights, the look on their faces when they realized they'd chosen the wrong Blake to worship. For the first time all week, I didn't feel forgotten. I felt powerful. I felt dangerous. And maybe, just maybe, I felt a little hungry. Because nothing fuels revenge quite like the smell of smoked brisket and poetic justice marinating in the same sauce. If there's one thing I've learned from 39 years of being the other Blake, it's that my brother Kyle could set the house on fire, and Mom would ask if he needed more matches. He's been the family's golden retriever since birth, shiny, loud, and praised for sitting upright. Meanwhile, I was the kid they used to test hand-me-downs on. Kyle got new sneakers with flashing lights. I got vintage charm. He got a phone at 12. I got his old pager because it builds character. Let me tell you, nothing builds character like explaining to your middle school crush why your text reply takes 3 business days. Mom likes to say Kyle's special because he has the gift of charisma. I call it the curse of volume. You ever meet someone who talks like a TED Talk with sound effects? That's Kyle. He can walk into a room, say something dumb like, "Let's make it happen, people," and everyone suddenly forgets he's unemployed half the time. He runs what he calls a consulting business, which is corporate speak for owns a laptop and confidence. He makes PowerPoints for people who actually have ideas, and somehow he's still the family's pride and joy. When he sneezes, Mom brings soup. When I broke my arm in 8th grade, she said, "Walk it off, sweetheart." Builds bone density. When Kyle got his driver's license, Dad threw a party. When I got mine, Dad said, "Be careful with the gas. It's expensive." It's like we grew up in 2 different households that just happened to share a mortgage. Kyle was the kind of kid who could crash Mom's car into a mailbox and still get dessert. "He's learning," Dad would say, patting his shoulder. I brought home straight A's once, and Mom said, "Don't brag. It's unbecoming." I wasn't bragging. I was just trying to exist. By high school, Kyle had his own fan club. The guy could walk down the hallway, wink at a teacher, and somehow get extra credit. I once got detention for being too sarcastic during group prayer. Apparently, God doesn't appreciate commentary. Who knew? The real insult came in our 20s. I went to college, double majored in business and computer science, worked 2 jobs, and came out with student loans that could qualify as a mortgage. Kyle, on the other hand, dropped out of community college after 1 semester because, and I quote, "classes ruined my creative flow." 2 years later, he shows up at Thanksgiving announcing he's launching his brand. What brand? No one knew. But Mom and Dad clapped like he just discovered fire. "Henry," Dad said, "you should take notes from your brother. He's following his passion." "Yeah," I said. "I'll write that down right after I pay my rent and file my taxes. Those passion killers." It didn't matter. Kyle was untouchable. The man could put glitter in a jar, call it motivational stardust, and Mom would buy it for $19.99. Meanwhile, when I told them I was starting my own company, an actual, legal business with clients and income, Dad said, "Don't get ahead of yourself, son. Start small." I had already been small my whole damn life. Kyle had a talent for showing up right when things were going good for me. When I bought my first house, he came by to help decorate. By the time he left, my living room looked like a frat house with commitment issues. When Nora and I got married, Kyle gave a speech that started with, "I never thought Henry would find someone to tolerate him." People laughed. Even my new in-laws laughed. And me? I just stood there smiling like a hostage because apparently humor was his gift and tolerance was mine. Now, before you think I'm exaggerating, let me paint you a picture. Kyle's got this grin, wide, toothy, like he's auditioning for a toothpaste commercial that no one asked for. He's 34, but dresses like a 25-year-old YouTuber who reviews protein shakes for a living. And somehow, despite all that, people love him. He could charm a traffic cop out of a ticket. Hell, he once got out of paying for parking because he inspired the attendant. I'm not kidding. The man told a story about overcoming adversity while driving a Tesla he didn't even own. Meanwhile, I'm the dependable one. The guy who files taxes early, remembers birthdays, and replaces the batteries in the smoke detector before it beeps. I'm the reason the family group chat exists, but do I get credit? No. Kyle sends one meme, and suddenly he's the life of the party. When we were kids, Grandma used to pinch Kyle's cheeks and say, "You're going to be somebody's sweet boy." She'd look at me and go, "And you're going to support him." I thought she was joking. Turns out she was a prophet. At family gatherings, Kyle doesn't just enter a room. He arrives. You hear him before you see him. "What's up, fam?" he yells, high-fiving toddlers and calling my dad big man, like he's a motivational speaker at a car dealership. Everyone lights up. Mom hands him a plate before he even sits down. Me? I get assigned dish duty before I finish chewing. Once, when I was 12, Kyle convinced me to trade my allowance for his investment opportunity. He said he was starting a lemonade stand empire. I gave him $20. He bought candy with it. When I complained, Mom said, "Henry, don't be selfish. Your brother's learning entrepreneurship." Fast forward 20 years, and he's still learning. And don't even get me started on how the man flirts with charm. My wife Nora swears he's just friendly, but the way she laughs at his dumb stories makes me want to apply for a new family entirely. He tells a story about that one time I accidentally went to a salsa class, and she's crying laughing like he just did stand-up at the Apollo. Meanwhile, I tell her about my new project at work, and she says, "That's nice, dear," like I just described a paint drying competition. My daughter Sophie adores him too. To her, Uncle Kyle is basically a human amusement park. He lets her eat marshmallows for breakfast, watch horror movies, and ride his electric scooter like it's the Indy 500. When I tell her to do her homework, she says, "Uncle Kyle says real learning happens outside." Yeah, outside school, because Uncle Kyle never went back. Here's the worst part. The man is immune to consequence. Like, genetically resistant to reality. Every time life tries to trip him, he just lands on a pillow of undeserved good luck. He once lost his wallet on a bus, and somehow the driver mailed it back with $50 extra. I lose my wallet, and my bank calls to inform me someone opened a loan in my name. And yet, despite all this, I can't fully hate him. Because the truth is, somewhere under all that charm and ego, Kyle actually believes he's doing good. He thinks his optimism balances out my cynicism. Once, during Christmas, he put his arm around me and said, "Bro, you take life too seriously. You gotta loosen up." I wanted to tell him the only reason I take life seriously is because someone in this family has to. Instead, I smiled and said, "Sure, I'll loosen up right after you pay a bill." He laughed, slapped my shoulder, and went back to drinking eggnog like he invented it. But deep down, something had started to shift in me. I'd spent years playing the role of the responsible one, the stable sibling, the predictable adult. Meanwhile, Kyle got to be the family's golden sun, shining even when he burned people. I'd always shrugged it off, told myself, "It's fine. That's just how it is." But lately, it wasn't fine. Because every time he got praised for existing, I felt myself shrinking. Every time Mom said, "Your brother means well," I heard, "You're just here for background support." So when Kyle double-booked his barbecue on my birthday, it wasn't just another petty move. It was the final straw in a 34-year comedy of favoritism. The man had taken everything, attention, affection, the family spotlight, and now he wanted my day. That was when the switch flipped. That was when I stopped being the understanding brother and started being the one with a plan. They always said Kyle was the golden child. Maybe it was time to find out how gold reacts under fire. Marriage, they said, is about partnership, companionship, mutual respect. Yeah, well, they forgot to mention third-party interference from your brother with a six-pack and a god complex. That's the part they leave off the Hallmark cards. My wife, Nora, is, how do I say this gently, a walking contradiction. She's both sweet and subtly savage. You know those people who can insult you so kindly that you thank them afterward? That's her. And to be fair, she's a good woman. Beautiful, smart, grounded, until Kyle walks into the room. Then suddenly, she's a contestant on America's Got Compliments. He cracks a joke, something recycled from 2003, like, remember when Henry tried to fix the grill and almost burned down the deck? And she laughs so hard I swear she forgets who actually pays the mortgage. The worst part? I've heard those jokes my whole life. I know every punchline before it leaves his smug mouth, but she acts like it's primetime comedy. One night, I tested it. Kyle called during dinner. She put him on speaker. He goes, "Hey sis-in-law, what's cooking?" And Nora, without missing a beat, goes, "Not Henry's cooking, that's for sure." I looked at her like she'd just thrown a dart through my dignity. She winked and said, "Oh, relax, it's a joke." Sure, a joke that keeps coming back like bad credit. And then there's my daughter, Sophie, 14, going on TikTok famous. That kid loves her Uncle Kyle more than she loves Wi-Fi. He lets her get away with everything. Candy for breakfast? Sure. Stay up past midnight? Absolutely. Watch an R-rated movie as life education? Of course. Meanwhile, when I tell her no, she rolls her eyes and says, "Uncle Kyle says rules are just suggestions." Oh, really? Well, Uncle Kyle also says his consulting firm is doing great, but I haven't seen him consult anything other than his reflection. It started small, the favoritism, the laughter, the way Nora would light up when Kyle came around. But small things add up, you know? One day you're just mildly annoyed, and the next, you're Googling how to get adopted by a different family. I tried to tell Nora once that her excitement around him was a bit much. She said, "Oh, Henry, don't be jealous. He's your brother." Jealous? Of what? The man still calls Mom to do his laundry. Things escalated 2 weeks before my birthday, when I first mentioned celebrating it. We were lying in bed, and I said, maybe this year we do something chill. Dinner, movie, maybe the lake. Nora nodded absently, scrolling through her phone. Sounds nice, she murmured. I should have known that was wife code for, I didn't hear a single word you said. Because the next day, Kyle called her directly, her, not me, and said, hey, Nora, you guys coming to my barbecue on the 12th? And she said, of course. Wouldn't miss it. When she told me, she looked genuinely confused why my face went from calm to plotting arson in my mind. Henry, she said, Kyle already invited everyone. Can't you just pop by? Pop by. To my brother's house. On my own birthday. That's like inviting your ex to your engagement party, for closure. I smiled. Tight, polite, serial killer level calm. And said, sure, honey. Sounds fun. Inside, though, my brain was throwing a full-blown fireworks show labeled emotional damage. I thought maybe Sophie would be on my side. Rookie mistake. I asked her if she wanted to hang out that day, maybe get burgers or see a movie. She said, Dad, Uncle Kyle's barbecue is like the event of the year. We can celebrate you next weekend. Next weekend. It's like everyone in my house suddenly got a group discount on disrespect. Even my own parents weren't subtle. Mom called me saying, Sweetie, Kyle's party's going to be big this year. Why don't you come too? We'll make sure to sing you a little happy birthday while we're there. A little happy birthday. Like a discount version from the clearance bin. That night, while Nora was painting her nails and humming like she lived in a detergent commercial, I asked her, you really don't see how weird this is? She glanced up. What's weird? That everyone's going to Kyle's party instead of celebrating my birthday? She shrugged. Henry, don't make this a competition. Who said it's a competition? You're acting like it. Oh, the irony. The same people who create the competition are always the first to accuse you of keeping score. I tried to let it go. Tried to be the mature husband. But then came the dinner that nearly broke me. The Friday before my birthday, Kyle invited us to a small pre-barbecue taste test. Basically, a chance for him to show off his smoker and make everyone tell him he's a culinary genius. I didn't want to go, but Nora said, it'll be fun. Family bonding. That phrase should be banned by law. So there we were, sitting in Kyle's backyard, him wearing an apron that said King of the Grill, Master of the Universe, Mom fanning herself like he was giving a TED Talk on ribs, and Nora laughing like she'd just inhaled helium. He handed her a plate and said, be careful, it's hot. Just like you, sis-in-law. I dropped my fork. She blushed. My dad chuckled. I seriously considered tossing myself into the smoker just to end it all. After dinner, Kyle started showing everyone a slideshow on his outdoor TV, photos of last year's barbecue. It was basically a highlight reel of him flipping meat and flexing his biceps. Nora clapped at one of the pictures. Sophie yelled, Uncle Kyle, you're so cool. I said, yeah, he's definitely the Gordon Ramsay of reheating frozen wings. No one laughed, not even the crickets. When we got home, I told Nora, you know, it's wild how your husband disappears the second Kyle starts talking. She sighed. Oh, come on, Henry. Don't be insecure. Insecure? Lady, I'm not insecure. I'm insulted. There's a difference. The next morning, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. She said, I just wish Henry were more like Kyle sometimes, so laid back, you know? I stood in the hallway, holding my coffee, questioning every life choice that brought me here. When she hung up, I walked in and said, just curious, am I competing for your attention or a reality show slot? She looked startled. Were you eavesdropping? No, I said. I just have excellent hearing for betrayal. Things stayed tense after that. She tried to make peace by cooking my favorite dinner that night, meatloaf, but it came out dry. Symbolic, really. Our whole marriage was starting to feel like overcooked meatloaf. Technically intact, emotionally crumbly. Later, as we sat on the couch, she said, you know, you could make an effort to get along better with Kyle. I laughed. Nora, I invented effort. I've been getting along with him since before you knew how to spell compromise. She rolled her eyes. He's your brother. Exactly. That's the problem. Why do you always make it a rivalry? Because everyone else made it worship. That shut her up for a minute. She went back to scrolling Instagram, probably liking one of Kyle's posts captioned, Rise and Grind. I tried to cool off, went for a drive, even blasted old rock songs like a man reclaiming his youth. But the whole time, that phrase popped by echoed in my head, like my existence was a side quest in my own story. By the time I got home, I had a decision. If my birthday was going to be overshadowed by Kyle's barbecue, then fine. Let them have it. I'd play the nice guy. But deep down, I was done being the background character in the Church of Kyle. That night, Nora asked if I was okay. I smiled. Yeah, I'm fine. She kissed my cheek and said, "You're such a good sport." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't being a good sport. I was being benched in my own life. So while she drifted off to sleep, I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, listening to it spin like the wheel of fate, and whispered to myself, "All right, Henry. They want Kyle's party to be the main event? Let's give them a reason to remember it." I didn't know it yet, but that was the exact second karma clocked in for overtime. Revenge doesn't always arrive like a lightning bolt. Sometimes, it comes disguised as a six-pack and a late-night pity party on your porch. That's exactly how it started for me. Beer in hand, bruised ego on full display, and a mosquito biting my calf like it was auditioning for Survivor, Backyard Edition. I just spent the day watching my wife and daughter pack up for my brother's big barbecue like it was the royal wedding, while I sat at home feeling like the forgotten middle child of the apocalypse. I was halfway through my third beer when it hit me. Not enlightenment, not grace, but something far more useful. Pettiness. Pure, unfiltered, grade A pettiness. The kind that fuels great art, bad tattoos, and most exes' Instagram captions. I grabbed my phone and texted the only man I knew who wouldn't talk me out of this, Marcus. Now, Marcus has been my best friend since college. He's the kind of guy who owns 3 Blazers, no job titles, and somehow plans events for celebrities who can't spell budget. He once turned a divorce party into a charity gala and made the ex-husband donate just to save face. The man was a legend in chaos management. "Yo," I texted. "You ever plan something petty?" "Define petty," he replied. "Like, ruin my brother's day petty." 10 seconds later, my phone rang. "Bro," Marcus said, his voice buzzing with excitement. "You're finally speaking my love language." I explained the situation. How Kyle had scheduled his annual ego convention on my birthday, how the entire family had RSVP'd to his temple of self-praise, and how I was tired of being the unpaid understudy in the musical called The Golden Child and Friends. Marcus listened silently. Then he said, "We're not throwing a party. We're throwing an experience." That's when I knew things were about to get biblical. We met the next morning at a diner, because all dangerous ideas begin over bacon and bad coffee. Marcus showed up in sunglasses like we were about to rob the place. He slid into the booth and said, "Okay, hit me with your vision." "My vision," I said, "is everyone realizing I'm the fun Blake. I don't just want to match his barbecue. I want to make his look like a sad potluck hosted by regret." Marcus smirked. "We can work with that." "Venue? I don't know. My backyard." He nearly spit out his coffee. "No, man. We're going bigger. If you're going to dethrone the golden child, you can't do it on a patio with a leaky hose. You need spectacle. I'm thinking Lakeside Park. Music, lighting, food trucks, a drone show spelling your name in the sky." I blinked. "Hey, what? Come on, bro. You're not just Henry Blake, overlooked sibling. You're Henry Blake, main event. This isn't revenge, it's rebranding." I laughed. "Marcus, I just want ribs and a point to prove, not a Coachella set list." He waved me off. "You think small, you get small results. Trust me, when people see what we're planning, they'll never think of Kyle's barbecue the same way again." By the time our waitress dropped the check, we drafted something that looked less like a birthday party and more like the opening ceremony of the Olympics. A live band, open bar, inflatable games, a comedian, and maybe a dunk tank with Kyle's face printed on it. "Too much?" I asked. "Never," Marcus said. "We'll call it Project Reclaim the Flame." I grinned. "I like it. It sounds dramatic and slightly illegal." We spent the next few days executing the plan like undercover agents in flip-flops. Marcus had a cousin who ran a catering company, a friend who managed sound for local concerts, and a contact who rented food trucks. Within 48 hours, I had a lineup of vendors texting me things like, "Hey man, how many pounds of pulled pork we talking?" I didn't know what half of it cost, and I didn't care. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about poetic justice, served medium rare. Marcus handled logistics like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. I already booked the venue, he said one night. Lakeside Park. Scenic, spacious, perfect for fireworks. Fireworks. Yeah, I figured we could do a finale that spells out something classy like Happy Birthday, Henry. Or, who's the golden child now? I almost choked on my beer. That's too much. He grinned. I'll take that as a maybe. Meanwhile, I started assembling my guest list. Coworkers who owed me favors, neighbors who complained about Kyle's loud music, college friends who still owed me beer money. They all got an invite. I even added my boss, partly for the social clout and partly because he once said, "You're too quiet, Henry." Oh, I'd show him quiet. For days, I couldn't stop smiling. It felt like teenage rebellion reborn in middle age. Nora, of course, had no idea. Every night she'd come home from work and talk about Kyle's amazing barbecue setup. "He's even getting live music this year," she said one evening. "Wow," I said, trying not to smirk. "How original." She shot me a look. "You sound bitter." "Oh no, honey. I'm marinating." Marcus and I worked like maniacs. He handled the entertainment, while I handled the guest hype. We made a flyer that said, "Henry's Birthday Bash, real food, real fun, real family." Marcus said it was too subtle. He wanted to add a tagline. "Come see what family looks like when everyone's actually invited." "Marcus," I said, "I still need to attend Thanksgiving." He shrugged. "Suit yourself. I'll keep the fireworks idea on standby." The closer we got to the big day, the more I started to feel like some kind of outlaw hero. Every time Kyle posted a teaser on Instagram, "Big barbecue vibes loading fire," I'd smirk and think, "You have no idea, buddy." There was one close call, though. Nora nearly discovered my plan. She walked into my office while I was on a call with Marcus discussing vendor deposits. I fumbled like a guilty politician. "Hey, just, talking to Marcus about, lawn care." She raised an eyebrow. "You hate lawn care, right? That's why I'm outsourcing it." She shrugged and walked out, but I could tell she was suspicious. I had to play it cool for the rest of the week, pretending to care about Kyle's big day while secretly orchestrating his social demolition. By Friday, everything was locked in. Marcus even pulled some miracle and got a local comedian named Rico Vale to perform. The guy was known for roasting audience members, literally roasting. "It's perfect," Marcus said. "We'll end the night with the roast of the golden child." I laughed so hard I nearly cried. "You're insane." "I prefer visionary," he said. That night, I sat on my porch again. Same spot, different energy. I looked at the sky, thinking about the irony of it all. My brother's entire life had been one long barbecue, sizzling with attention and smoke. But this time, I was taking the grill. I thought about my dad's proud smile whenever Kyle opened his mouth, about Mom's blind praise, about Nora's laughter at his dumb jokes. I'd been the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who didn't rock the boat. But boats don't float forever when you're the only one rowing. Marcus texted me, "You ready for war?" I replied, I was born ready, but I had to wait for catering. The next morning, we met at the park to finalize the setup. It was still early, fog rolling off the lake, and the event crew was already unloading tables, speakers, and tents. Marcus wore a headset and carried a clipboard like he was auditioning for The Bachelor, Event Edition. "Bro," he said, pointing at the setup, "this is not a barbecue. This is a legacy." As I stood there watching it come to life, the food trucks parking in perfect symmetry, the band tuning their guitars, the DJ testing the speakers, I felt something rare, satisfaction. Not joy, not pride, but that sweet, slow-burning satisfaction that only comes when karma finally checks her inbox. I didn't know who would show up yet. I didn't know how my family would react. But one thing was certain. This time, they'd remember my birthday. And maybe, just maybe, they'd remember who I really was. Not the overlooked brother, not the quiet one, not the dependable doormat. I was Henry Blake, and I was about to remind everyone that even the boring one can light a match when he's had enough. You ever send a message so polite it practically bleeds sarcasm? That was me the Monday before my birthday. I typed it carefully, like defusing a bomb made of passive-aggressive energy. "Hey everyone, I'll be celebrating my birthday on the 12th. You're all invited if you're free." Sweet. Simple. Non-confrontational. The kind of text that says, I'm emotionally stable, even though I was one scene at 2:14 p.m. away from losing it. I sent it to the family group chat. Mom, Dad, Kyle, Nora, and Sophie, Because nothing says modern love like a shared space where you can watch your relatives ignore you in real time. Then I waited. 1 minute. Nothing. 5 minutes. Nothing. 20 minutes. Mom was active, typing something, and then she stopped. No message. Probably overthinking the right way to tell me she was washing Kyle's tongs that day. An hour passed. I refreshed the chat like a man trying to summon dignity through Wi-Fi. Still no reply. Then it happened. A notification popped up. Ding. My heart leapt. It was Kyle. He posted, "Barbecue bash fire same day, same vibe, same love. Everyone welcome." In the same group chat. My group chat. The digital space I had just used to invite these people to my own birthday. Within seconds, it was like watching a wildfire spread through a pile of dry approval. "Mom, can't wait, sweetie. Dad, got the cooler ready. Aunt Lisa, we're bringing your favorite dip." Even my teenage daughter hit him with a fire emoji. You know what I got? Nothing. Not even a pity reaction. Not a thumbs up. Not a maybe next time. Just the silence of betrayal wrapped in family data. I stared at my phone, feeling like a background character in my own life story. And then, like a final twist of the knife, Nora reacted to Kyle's post with a laughing emoji. A laughing emoji. On the day I invited her to my birthday, I put the phone down before I did something impulsive like delete my family. I took a deep breath and said to myself, "Okay, Henry, they chose violence. You'll choose catering." Later that evening, Nora walked in all casual, humming like a woman who hadn't just crushed her husband's soul via emoji. "So," she said, "Kyle's party's gonna be huge this year. He's even got a live DJ. Isn't that fun?" "Fun," I repeated, nodding like a man on the edge of a Netflix true crime special. "Yeah, fun's one word for it." She tilted her head. "You're not mad, are you?" "Mad?" "No," I said, smiling. "I'm enlightened." Because in that moment, I realized something powerful. Indifference is their language, but success is mine. And I was about to become fluent. That night, I called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. "Tell me someone broke a grill." "Worse," I said. "They ignored my invitation." He whistled. "Oof. Group chat betrayal. That's sacred ground, bro. You ready to nuke their notifications?" "Beyond ready," I said. "Then let's double down," Marcus replied, cracking his knuckles like a general before battle. "We're going full production. I've already confirmed the food trucks, the band, and the lighting guy. You want me to add a photo booth?" "Absolutely," I said. "And make sure the backdrop says something subtle like, 'Real family, real party.'" He laughed. "Oh, I love when you get petty." "Petty," I said. "Marcus, this is performance art." We spent the next 2 hours finalizing the details. Marcus had ideas that ranged from genius to potentially lawsuit-worthy. We could hire someone to dress up as a golden statue and call it the Golden Child exhibit. People can take photos next to it. Tempting, I said, but I still have to sit at the same Thanksgiving table as these people. Fine, he sighed. But can we at least print his face on the drink koozies? I didn't say no. By midnight, the plan was perfect. I texted Marcus a simple message before bed. "Tomorrow, we rise." The next morning, I woke up to the same group chat pinging again. Kyle had sent another message. "Update, everyone. Got a sponsorship from Brewski's Beer for the barbecue. Free drinks for all." The replies flooded in like a love tsunami. "Mom, oh my goodness, Kyle. You're so resourceful. Dad, proud of you, son." Resourceful? Proud. I invented resourcefulness in this family. When Dad's car broke down, who rebuilt the starter using YouTube and pure desperation? Me. When Mom's Wi-Fi went out, who fixed it while Kyle stood behind her saying, "Try rebooting?" Me. But sure, let's all raise a glass to the man who negotiated free beer. That night, I went full stealth mode. While Nora was watching some reality dating show that made my IQ drop by the minute, I quietly sent out my real invites, emails, texts, even some old-fashioned phone calls for the older crowd. My pitch was simple. "Hey, it's Henry. I'm hosting something special on the 12th at Lakeside Park. You'll want to be there." I didn't mention Kyle. Didn't need to. Mystery sells better than guilt trips. By Wednesday, the RSVPs started rolling in. Coworkers, neighbors, a few old college friends, even my boss. One texted, "Heard this is the event of the year. Can I bring my wife?" I replied, "Bring your accountant too. I might need him by Monday." Meanwhile, My family continued fawning over Kyle like he was the human embodiment of success. My mom even sent a reminder in the chat. Everyone remembers sunscreen for Saturday. Kyle's parties always get so much sun. I couldn't resist. I replied, "Noted." No one reacted. At this point, it wasn't even anger. It was scientific curiosity. How far could their ignorance go before it looped back around to comedy? On Friday night, Nora noticed me unusually calm. She said, "You seem relaxed." "I am," I said. "I finally understand everything." She smiled, relieved. "Good. I'm glad you're not still hung up on that party thing." I poured myself a whiskey, smiled, and said, "Oh, I'm definitely not hung up. Because why should I be?" They'd already RSVP'd to humiliation, they just didn't know it yet. Later that night, Sophie came into my office wearing a Kyle's BBQ t-shirt. "Yes, my brother made merch." She twirled and said, "Isn't it cool? Uncle Kyle gave me this early." I smiled and said, "It's perfect, sweetheart. Wear it while you can." "Why?" "Because after Saturday, they might be collector's items." She laughed, thinking I was joking. Kids always underestimate how funny revenge can be. Before bed, I checked the guest list one last time. It was bigger than I expected. Marcus had over-delivered. There were food trucks for tacos, barbecue, desserts, and even a mobile barista. A live band, a comedian, and a local news guy who owed Marcus a favor were confirmed to show up for community coverage. When I saw the draft of the press release Marcus sent, I nearly spit out my drink. Local entrepreneur Henry Blake celebrates birthday with record-breaking community event at Lakeside Park. Entrepreneur. That word alone would make Dad's blood pressure spike. He'd spent decades pretending Kyle's consulting business was the next Apple, while I quietly built a company that actually paid taxes. The poetic justice was so perfect, I could almost taste it. I slept like a baby that night, the kind of deep, peaceful sleep that only comes when you know karma's about to start working overtime on your behalf. The next morning, the family group chat lit up again. "Mom, so excited for today. Kyle says it's going to be his best one yet." "Dad, can't wait to see everyone." Even Nora texted, "Heading out now? Don't wait up." I typed back, "Wouldn't dream of it." Then I turned my phone over, looked at the mirror, and said out loud, "All right, Henry, let's give them a day they'll never forget." When I left the house that morning, the sky was clear, the air smelled like victory, and I swear the birds outside were chirping, "Let's get petty." The morning of my birthday started exactly how you'd imagine a betrayal-themed holiday should. Silent house, cold coffee, and a note on the counter that read, "We'll swing by after Kyle's party. Love you, love me." Like that sticky kind of love you say to your Amazon driver when they drop your package on time. I stared at that note for a full 30 seconds before laughing. One of those deep, unsettling laughs that probably made the toaster nervous. Because here's the thing, I wasn't sad anymore. I was ready. The kind of calm that happens before a tornado touches down. I poured myself another coffee, put on my best nonchalant billionaire outfit, dark jeans, crisp shirt, sunglasses, and whispered to the mirror, "Let's get theatrical." By noon, Marcus pulled into my driveway with a grin so big it could have powered a small town. He stepped out wearing a headset and holding a clipboard, looking like an underpaid movie director. "Birthday boy," he yelled. "You ready for war?" "War," I said, locking my door behind me. No. Wars are messy. This is performance justice." "Whatever you call it," he said. "Just know it's beautiful. The setup's insane." We drove out to Lakeside Park, and when I saw it, I almost teared up. Almost. Because real men don't cry. They just sniff dramatically and blame it on pollen. The entire area had been transformed into something out of a high-budget summer festival. Food trucks lined the edge of the lake, each one smelling better than the last. Tacos, barbecue, burgers, even a dessert truck shaped like a donut. A live band was setting up under a white canopy, tuning guitars while the drummer tested beats that made my soul vibrate. Marcus had banners strung between the trees. "Happy birthday, Henry. Good vibes, great food, real family." Real family. That tagline alone could have sent my brother into cardiac arrest. I turned to Marcus. "You did this in 3 days?" He smirked. Never underestimate what caffeine, debt, and revenge can accomplish. People started showing up earlier than I expected. Coworkers, neighbors, even my boss, who walked in wearing aviators like he'd just stepped off a yacht. Heard this is the event of the year, he said, handing me a gift bag. Oh, just a little get-together, I replied, smiling like a man who definitely spent 5 figures proving a point. By 2 o'clock, the park looked like a movie set. Kids ran around playing cornhole. The smell of ribs filled the air, and the band's lead singer crooned classic rock songs that made everyone feel like they still had hairlines. People laughed, clinked drinks, and danced under the open sky. For once, I wasn't the quiet guy in the corner. I was the main character. Marcus strutted up to me with 2 beers. You see this, my man? This is legacy-level stuff. You're not just throwing a party. You're rewriting family history. I raised my bottle. To rewriting. We toasted, and I swear the beer tasted like victory and smoked brisket. Around 3 p.m., the comedian arrived, a guy named Rico Vale, with energy levels that made Red Bull look lazy. He shook my hand. Heard your family ditched you for your brother's barbecue? Yup. Perfect, he said. Tragedy makes great material. Marcus whispered, he's gonna roast everyone. Even you. Good, I said. Let the healing begin. The guests kept pouring in. Old college friends, clients, a few people I didn't even remember inviting, but who claimed they heard about it from someone who heard about it. Apparently, Marcus had turned my birthday into the social event of the summer. Even the mayor's assistant showed up. The mayor's assistant. Meanwhile, my brother was probably still flipping burgers and talking about his consulting empire. At around 3:30, Marcus got a text and started laughing so hard he nearly spilled his drink. Bro, guess where the family is right now? I raised an eyebrow. Kyle's barbecue. Yup. And guess what? Someone just posted an Instagram story from there. Half the crowd already dipped. People are leaving mid-rib, man. Mid-rib. I grinned. The Great Migration has begun. He slapped my shoulder. Operation Reclaim the Flame is officially underway. By 4 o'clock, I couldn't stop smiling. I was shaking hands, hugging guests, getting compliments like, dude, this is better than any wedding I've been to. And you outdid yourself, Henry. Someone even said, this must have taken months to plan. I looked them dead in the eye and said, nah, just years of emotional neglect. Even the band was feeling the vibe. Between sets, they played a remix of We Are the Champions, and I swear I saw an old coworker tear up. Kids were jumping in the inflatable bounce castle Marcus rented. Adults were dancing by the lake, and one food truck owner came over to me and said, this crowd's a gold mine. Who's the genius behind this? I pointed at Marcus. That guy. Marcus waved dramatically. I'm just the architect. He's the story. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, missed calls, and a flood of notifications. But I wasn't checking them. Not yet. I wanted to enjoy the calm before the roast. The golden, delicious calm where victory simmered like barbecue sauce over a low flame. At 4:30, Rico, the comedian, hopped on stage for a sound check and called out, Yo, where's the birthday man? The crowd cheered. Someone shouted, Henry, you're a legend. Legend. A word no one in my family had ever associated with me unless I was telling them where the TV remote was. I walked up, waved to the crowd, and said, I don't have a speech. I just want to thank everyone who showed up. It means a lot, especially since attendance at family events isn't exactly my strong suit. People laughed, clapped, cheered. It was small, but it was power. The kind of moment you store in your chest for dark days. After I stepped off stage, Marcus grabbed my arm. You ready to see the full fireworks schedule? Fireworks. Oh yeah, he said, showing me a list. We got a 7 p.m. drone show over the lake. And maybe a small surprise message in the sky. What kind of message? He winked. You'll see. I should have been nervous. I should have been thinking, is this too much? Will my family hate me forever? But no, I felt amazing. For once, I wasn't the punchline. I was the one holding the mic. By 5 p.m., the crowd had doubled again. The smell of roasted corn mixed with laughter, live music, and clinking glasses. I even spotted a few mutual friends who had defected from Kyle's event. They came up sheepishly and said things like, we heard this one was, more fun. Glad you made it, I said, shaking their hands like a benevolent dictator. Grab a drink. Redemption's on tap. Marcus leaned over and whispered, I give it an hour before the family shows up. He was right, because at 5:47 on the dot, I got a text from Mom. Honey, are you still having that little thing at the park? We might stop by for a bit after Kyle's barbecue. I showed Marcus. He laughed so hard he had to walk away. I typed back, "Sure, Mom, if you can find parking." And then I waited. Because every good roast needs an audience, and mine was on its way. As the sun started dipping low over the water, the energy built. The band played their best set yet. People danced barefoot on the grass, and the first few fireworks cracked open the sky in gold and blue. Kids gasped, couples clinked glasses, and I stood there at the center of it all, grinning like a man who'd finally cracked the cheat code to life. The phone in my pocket buzzed again, another message. This one from Dad. "Impressive turnout, son. Didn't realize it was this big." I smirked. Of course you didn't. It was poetic, like watching the scales balance themselves. For years, Kyle had been the headline act. But tonight, for the first time in forever, I wasn't standing in his shadow. He was about to walk into mine. And as the clock ticked closer to 6, I could feel it. The air tightening, the crowd buzzing, the stage lights warming. The night was ready. The players were in place. Kyle's party was ending. Mine was just beginning. Now, while my event was out there rewriting family history, I like to imagine what was happening across town at Casa de Kyle, also known as the Shrine of Self-Importance. I didn't go, obviously, but thanks to the miracle of social media and a few undercover operatives, aka mutual friends who can't resist good drama, I got a front row seat to the downfall of the Golden Child's grand performance. See, Kyle's barbecue started off the same way it always did. Loud music, inflated ego, and food that looked better on Instagram than it tasted in real life. He'd rented one of those massive tents, strung with cheap fairy lights that made it look like an Amazon wedding, and had a Bluetooth speaker blaring a playlist titled Kyle's Greatest Hits. Translation: songs from 2010 that he still thinks are relevant. From what I heard, the day started strong. People showed up early, because of course they did. My family treats Kyle's parties like the Super Bowl. Mom and Dad arrived first, bringing potato salad and enough emotional support to power a small city. Nora and Sophie rolled in next, dressed like they were heading to Coachella. I can practically hear Nora's voice. "Kyle, this looks amazing. You always outdo yourself." Yeah, I bet it looked amazing for the first 20 minutes, before the universe decided to balance its karmic checkbook. According to my neighbor Trish, who's friends with Kyle's next-door neighbor, bless her nosy soul, the first sign of trouble came at 2:15. The rented grill, which Kyle proudly called the Beast, decided to go full drama queen and stop working. Just quit. No smoke, no fire, no glory. Apparently, Kyle started yelling into his phone like he was calling 911 for a barbecue emergency. Meanwhile, the crowd stood around awkwardly, sipping lukewarm beer. Someone apparently asked, "Where's the food?" And Kyle, ever the smooth talker, said, "We're doing a delayed rollout." Keeps the excitement up. Yeah, nothing says excitement like hunger and regret. Still, he powered through. He turned the music up, started doing his usual rounds, handshakes, fake laughs, the classic "so glad you could make it" lines he learned from Dad. My daughter Sophie later told me he was really in his element. Of course he was. The man thrives on attention like a houseplant on sunlight. But here's where it gets good. Around 3 p.m. Just as he's bragging about his secret family recipe for ribs, which is really just store-bought sauce and ego, guests started getting texts. Notifications popping up like popcorn kernels. Messages that read, "Hey, you at Henry's thing? This place is insane." People began looking at their phones, whispering. Kyle probably noticed, but kept pretending everything was fine. The man could be drowning in quicksand and still be like, "Nah, just vibing." Mom, bless her heart, asked someone what they were smiling at. The woman showed her a video. One of my friends had posted a clip of my party's live band playing by the lake, fireworks reflecting on the water. You could hear people cheering, clinking glasses, living their best lives. Mom apparently frowned and said, "Oh, that's lovely. Whose party is that?" "Henry's," the woman replied. I like to imagine the silence that followed, the collective moment when realization spread like gossip at a church potluck. Word traveled fast. Someone else checked Instagram and found a clip of me making a toast. Caption, "This guy knows how to throw down." Another showed the food trucks lined up under lights. Another showed Rico the comedian cracking jokes about family favoritism and burnt ribs. At that point, it was over. Guests began vanishing one by one, like a bad magic trick. Cars quietly rolled out of Kyle's driveway, tires crunching on gravel like the sound of loyalty leaving. People mumbled excuses, gotta check something downtown, forgot my sunglasses, need to, walk my cat. Anything to escape the sinking ship. Mom noticed first. Where's everyone going? She asked. Dad shrugged, too busy chewing on something that may or may not have been cooked. By 4 p.m., half the crowd was gone. Kyle kept insisting it was fine, that people were just making supply runs. But then someone's kid blurted out, "They're going to Uncle Henry's party. It's all over TikTok." You could probably hear his ego crack from space. Meanwhile, back at my event, I was giving out free sliders like Oprah. You get a burger, you get a taco, you get emotional closure. I didn't know the exact play-by-play, but I could feel it in the air, that shift, that sweet, invisible current of karma. Around 4:30, Marcus jogged over, laughing so hard he was gasping for air. Bro, update from the front lines. Someone live-streamed Kyle's face when he saw people leaving. I swear he looked like he just found out Wi-Fi was canceled. Poor guy, I said, sipping my drink. He must be really disappointed. Marcus grinned. You don't sound sorry. I'm not, I said. I'm hydrated and vindicated. Apparently, the disaster kept snowballing. The free beer sponsorship Kyle bragged about? They ran out by 5 p.m. His Bluetooth speaker died mid-song. The rented chairs started collapsing. And his neighbor, tired of the noise, called the cops to complain about a man yelling motivational quotes into a spatula. At some point, Nora texted me. Just 3 words. Your party trending. I replied with one. Naturally. Sophie sent a video too. A shaky clip of my drone display spelling "Happy Birthday Henry" across the lake in glowing lights. The caption read, "This is insane." I didn't even have to say anything. She was speechless. And that was better than any apology. Back at Kyle's house, things apparently went full sitcom meltdown. Mom started guilt-tripping him. Maybe you should have checked with your brother about the date, sweetheart. Dad was like, Henry always was more organized. Nora tried to play peacemaker, saying, I'm sure Henry didn't mean to outshine anyone. Outshine. That word probably stung worse than anything I could have said. Around 5:45, Kyle reportedly stood on a chair and gave a speech to the dozen or so loyal attendees still hanging on. This isn't about competition, he said. Henry and I are just different. Translation: I'm losing control of the narrative. I like to think at that exact moment, another text came through, maybe from Mom, maybe from a random guest, showing fireworks launching over the lake. Because at that very second, my party was exploding in golden brilliance. People cheering, laughing, raising glasses. Kyle's guests. They were standing in a backyard lit by flickering tiki torches, listening to him defend his life choices. By 6, even Mom caved. She apparently turned to Dad and said, Maybe we should stop by Henry's for a bit. It is his birthday. Dad nodded, half defeated, half curious. Yeah, might as well. Nora didn't argue. Sophie practically dragged them to the car. And Kyle? Well, he had no choice but to follow. The man couldn't stand the idea of anyone celebrating without him. So they packed up, loaded into their SUVs, and drove toward the sound of laughter and live music echoing over the lake. And me? I was mid-toast when I saw a line of headlights approaching down the park road. I didn't even need to check who it was. I could feel it. The air shifted, people turned, and whispers started spreading like, Oh my God, that's his family. I took a long sip of my drink, grinned, and thought, showtime. Because in that moment, I wasn't nervous or bitter anymore. I was ready. Ready for them to see what happens when the quiet one finally gets a spotlight and a stage big enough for karma to perform. The Golden Child's barbecue had officially flatlined, and all roads now led to me. It was about 6 o'clock when the sun decided to make my party look like a movie set. The lake shimmered in gold. The band switched from chill blues to crowd-pleasing funk, and the smell of barbecue hung in the air like victory perfume. People were laughing, dancing, clinking glasses, and taking selfies under the big, glowing Happy Birthday Henry banner. If heaven had a VIP section for the underappreciated, I was already seated. Marcus came over holding 2 plastic cups of something neon. Bro, he said, I think this might be the peak of your life. How do you feel? Like I just got promoted by karma, I said, taking a sip. It tasted like liquid redemption and questionable sugar content. That's when I saw them. Headlights creeping down the gravel road toward the park entrance. 3 cars in a neat little parade of guilt. Even from a distance, I could recognize the silhouettes. Dad's SUV leading, followed by Nora's car, and then the unmistakable shine of Kyle's brand new truck, the one he financed through manifestation. Marcus noticed my grin. Incoming. Oh yeah, I said. The prodigal audience returns. He rubbed his hands together like a cartoon villain. Should I cue the dramatic music? Already playing, I said, nodding toward the band. They'd just started a cover of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Perfect timing. The cars parked near the gate, and the doors opened like the start of a soap opera episode. Out stepped Mom in her floral church dress, Dad adjusting his hat like he was inspecting a crime scene, Nora frozen mid-jaw drop, and Sophie, sweet Sophie, looking around like she'd just discovered Disneyland. And then, of course, Kyle. My brother. The man, the myth, the canceled barbecue. He looked like someone had just unplugged his confidence mid-sentence. His hair was damp, his shirt wrinkled, and I swear he was still holding a half-empty beer can like a prop from a tragedy. They all stood there for a few seconds, just staring. The lights from the stage reflected in their eyes. The banner flashed gold. The music swelled. And then, as if the universe had taken notes on cinematic timing, the crowd erupted in cheers. Not for them, but for me. I raised my glass. Well, look who finally remembered they have another son. People laughed, clapped, and some even whistled. Nora blinked, completely thrown off. Sophie grabbed her arm and whispered something that looked suspiciously like, "Dad's party is awesome." Kyle just stood there, blinking, trying to process that his backup plan had a bigger budget than his main event. Mom recovered first. She walked toward me with that polite, everything is fine smile mothers use when they're realizing their favorite child just got dethroned. "Henry, honey," she said, her voice trembling with forced warmth. "This is lovely." "Thanks, Mom," I said, kissing her cheek. "We wanted something simple. You know, minimal effort." Her smile flickered. "Well, it looks expensive." "Just emotionally," I said. Dad walked up next, looking around like he was evaluating real estate. "You got a good crowd here, son. Didn't know you had this many friends." "Neither did I," I said. "Turns out people like good food and not being ignored." He nodded slowly. "You always were resourceful." I nearly fell over. Was that a compliment? I wanted to ask if he needed water. Meanwhile, Nora was still frozen at the gate, clutching her purse like it contained the secret to time travel. She finally stepped forward, her eyes wide. "Henry, this is unbelievable." "Yeah," I said. "Hard to believe, right? Especially for people who were too busy to celebrate with me." She opened her mouth, then closed it. I could see the guilt flooding in, one emoji at a time. I didn't think. "Yeah, that's usually the problem," I said gently, smiling so wide it probably hurt her soul. Sophie ran up and hugged me. "Dad, this is insane. You have fireworks? And a band? And ice cream trucks?" I laughed and lifted her up. "Well, kiddo, when people forget your birthday, you make it unforgettable." She grinned. "Uncle Kyle's party kinda sucked." I looked over her shoulder at my brother. "Yeah, I got that impression." Kyle finally found his voice. "Bro, what the hell is this?" "This," I said, gesturing around at the crowd, the lights, the lake glowing behind us. "This is what happens when you try to hijack someone's birthday and the universe returns it with interest." He frowned. "You could have told me you were planning something. And spoil the surprise?" I said, "You're always talking about spontaneity, right? Consider this a collaboration. You took the guests, I took the glory." The crowd nearby laughed, not fully understanding, but sensing drama like sharks smell blood. Kyle crossed his arms, clearly trying to stay calm. "You didn't have to go this far." "Oh, believe me," I said. "This is me holding back." Marcus wanted a skywriter. Marcus, overhearing, shouted from the food truck area, "Still an option if you Venmo me." People cracked up. Kyle's jaw tightened. I could practically hear his ego begging for CPR. Mom stepped in again, her voice trembling between pride and confusion. "Henry, dear, we had no idea you were capable of something like this." "Yeah," Dad added, looking genuinely impressed. "This is top-notch. You run this through your company or something?" "Mostly through spite," I said. "It's surprisingly efficient." Nora gave me that soft, guilt-ridden look spouses give when they realize they've bet on the wrong horse. "Henry," she said, "I should have been here with you." I raised an eyebrow. "You think?" She sighed. "I'm sorry. Kyle just said everyone was going, and I didn't want to cause drama. I smirked. Oh, don't worry, darling. I brought the drama to me. Marcus appeared beside us like a hype man. Folks, quick announcement, he said into the mic. We've got fireworks starting soon. But first, a toast from the man of the hour, Mr. Henry Blake. The crowd cheered again. Kyle looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him. I stepped onto the small stage, holding my glass, the lights gleaming off the lake behind me. Thanks, everyone, I said. It's good to see familiar faces and a few unexpected ones. Some of you might have had other plans today, but I'm glad you realized the better party had better lighting. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Mom covered her face, half embarrassed, half amused. This birthday wasn't supposed to be a competition, I continued. But you know how life works. Sometimes the grill gods demand balance. Even the band laughed. I looked over at Kyle. To family, I said, raising my glass. And to the lesson that no matter how shiny the golden child gets, the flame always finds its way back to the other brother. The crowd erupted. People clinked glasses, whistled, cheered. Marcus fist pumped like he'd just won a sports bet. Kyle managed a tight smile, the kind that says, I'm dying inside but trying to look photogenic. After the toast, the band kicked up again. Nora joined me near the bar, still in shock. I had no idea you could pull something like this off, she said. I shrugged. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish when you're completely ignored. She touched my arm. I owe you an apology. I smiled. You do, but it can wait until after the fireworks. Sophie grabbed my hand. Dad, come on. They're about to start. We walked down to the lake's edge, the entire crowd following. The first firework shot into the air, golden, bright, loud enough to drown out regret. Then another, and another, until the night sky turned into a light show of triumph. People clapped and cheered, and somewhere behind me, I heard Marcus whisper to the DJ, cue the drones. And then it happened. A fleet of small glowing drones rose from behind the trees, forming perfect letters across the sky. Happy birthday, Henry, the real MVP. The crowd went wild. Phones came out, flashes popped, and even my dad yelled, That's my boy. I turned just in time to see Kyle's face illuminated by the golden lights. His mouth fell open. He muttered something like, Are you kidding me? I patted his shoulder. Not even a little. He forced a laugh, trying to play along, but you could see it, that tiny crack in his golden armor. For once, I wasn't the brother standing in his shadow. He was standing in mine. As the last firework burst over the lake, Nora leaned her head against my shoulder. You really showed him, she whispered. I smiled. I didn't need to show him. I just reminded everyone what they forgot. When the lights faded and the crowd started dancing again, Mom came up and hugged me. You know, she said, you might have overdone it a little. Maybe, I said. But overdoing it is the family tradition, isn't it? She laughed softly. I'm proud of you, Henry. That one almost broke me. It took 39 years, one betrayal, and an absurd amount of brisket, but I finally heard it. Across the park, I saw Kyle walking toward his truck, shoulders slumped, ego smoking like a burnt rib. He paused, looked back once, then kept walking. I didn't chase him. I just raised my glass to the air and said quietly, Happy birthday to me. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. You know that electric buzz that fills the air right before something unforgettable happens? That's what it felt like standing there by the lake, beer in hand, crowd still cheering, fireworks smoke drifting above the water like karma's perfume. The night had peaked, or so I thought, until Marcus took the mic. And that's when the show really began. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, his voice booming over the speakers. Before we wrap up this glorious evening, we've got one final act. Please welcome the man who's about to turn family therapy into stand-up comedy, Rico Vale. The crowd roared. Rico, our hired comedian, strutted onto the stage wearing sunglasses and holding a mic like it owed him money. Give it up for Henry, everybody, he shouted. The man who threw a party so good it shut down his brother's ego. I nearly spat out my drink. The audience erupted. Even the band stopped mid-song just to laugh. I turned toward Marcus, who was standing offstage, smirking like the devil's event planner. You didn't, I mouthed. Oh, I did, he mouthed back. Rico walked to center stage and grinned. Now, before we get into the jokes, quick shout out to Kyle Blake, the family's favorite son, who had the courage to show up tonight after losing 70% of his guests to a better event. That takes heart. Or denial. Maybe both. The laughter that followed could have powered a small city. Kyle froze mid-sip. He gave one of those tight, public smiles, like a man who's been personally attacked but can't leave because there's cake. Rico kept going, unstoppable. Let's be honest, folks. Every family's got a golden child. Kyle's that guy who could spill coffee on the Pope and Mom would say, he's just passionate. Meanwhile, Henry could donate a kidney, and she'd go, did you iron your shirt first? Even I lost it. I was doubled over, laughing so hard my ribs hurt. Mom, on the other hand, was gripping her purse like she was about to perform an exorcism. Rico pointed at her. Ma'am, you look like a lovely woman, but blink twice if Kyle's your favorite. The crowd gasped, then laughed. Mom turned beet red but smiled politely. I love both my sons equally, she said through clenched teeth. Rico grinned. Sure you do. And my gym membership loves me back. Even Dad cracked up. Full-on laugh, not the polite chuckle he usually gives. He was practically wiping tears from his face. I couldn't believe it, my dad, laughing at a joke about Kyle. Somewhere, the universe high-fived itself. Rico wasn't done. Let's talk about this barbecue rivalry, huh? Kyle threw his little backyard cookout. Nice effort, man. Real cute. But Henry here said, hold my beer and my generational trauma, and built Coachella. The audience screamed. Marcus shouted from the crowd. Tell him about the drone show. Oh yeah, Rico said. You see that drone display earlier? Most people do fireworks. Henry said. Nah, let's spell out my dominance letter by letter. I was laughing so hard I nearly choked on my beer. Even Nora was cracking up beside me, wiping her eyes. I can't believe you let him do this, she whispered. I didn't, I said, but I'm glad he did. Rico kept going, pacing the stage like a man born for chaos. Let's give it up for Kyle, though. He's here tonight, folks. The man, the myth, the medium-rare legend. The spotlight swung to Kyle, who gave a half-hearted wave while the crowd clapped. You could tell he was trying so hard to look like he was in on the joke. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Rico leaned into the mic. I gotta say, bro, your barbecue had heart. Sure, half your guests left, but at least the ribs stayed loyal. Probably because they were undercooked. The laughter hit like a tsunami. Even people who didn't know the backstory were howling. Kyle forced a laugh, glanced at Mom for support, but she was too busy pretending to check her phone. Then Rico turned toward me. And Henry, man, you're something else. You played this perfectly. You didn't argue. You didn't rant. You just waited, planned, and dropped the most legendary revenge party in suburban history. You're like Batman if Batman had better lighting and catering. That got the biggest applause of the night. I raised my glass again, grinning. To petty justice, I said under my breath. Rico wrapped up 20 minutes later to thunderous applause. He took a bow, shouted, tip your servers and love your siblings, unless they schedule a barbecue on your birthday, and left the stage to cheers that could have registered on the Richter scale. When the laughter died down, I turned to look for Kyle. He was standing near the food trucks, alone, staring at the ground. His beer can was crushed in his hand like a symbol of his pride. For a second, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the group chat. The laughing emoji. They will celebrate next week. Sympathy packed its bags and left the building. Mom approached me next, smiling like someone who'd just realized her parenting strategy had backfired. Henry, she said, touching my arm. That was impressive. Thanks, I said. You didn't have to go this far. Oh, I definitely did. She sighed. You boys are always competing. No, Mom, I said. We're not competing. I just finally stopped letting him win by default. She blinked, and for once, didn't have a comeback. Then Dad walked up, clapping me on the back so hard I nearly spilled my drink. Son, he said, that was one hell of a show. Didn't think you had this in you. Guess I just needed the right motivation. He laughed. Well, you sure got it. Then he leaned in and whispered, between you and me, Kyle needed a little humbling. If I wasn't already grinning, that would have done it. My dad, Mr. Kyle is my prodigy, just admitted his golden boy needed a dent. The moment was sacred. Nora joined us, still giggling from the roast. I can't believe you let Marcus and that comedian do all that. I didn't let them, I said. I just stopped stopping them. She smiled. Touché. And for what it's worth, I was wrong to underestimate you. I raised an eyebrow. You were. She nodded. You didn't just throw a party. You threw a statement. I leaned closer. And what's the statement? That Henry Blake doesn't play. I grinned. Finally, someone gets it. Sophie came running up next, holding a plate of cake bigger than her head. Dad, everyone's saying this is the best party ever. I looked down at her, my heart melting a little. That's because it's not just a party, kiddo, it's history. She giggled and ran off toward the dance floor. As the night went on, the energy just kept climbing. The band came back for an encore, people danced barefoot in the grass, and Marcus got roped into an impromptu limbo contest that ended with him shouting, "I do this for justice," before falling flat on his back. Meanwhile, Kyle sat at a picnic table nursing his pride. A few pity guests hovered around him, trying to make small talk, but it was clear his spotlight had officially dimmed. Eventually, he stood up and walked toward me. "Hey," he said quietly. I turned, keeping my tone even. "Hey." He gestured around. "This is pretty amazing." "Thanks," I said. "It's been a good night." He nodded, looking at the ground. "I guess I didn't realize how much this meant to you." "Oh, it didn't," I said. "It meant exactly as much as you made it mean." He winced. "I didn't mean to steal your birthday, man." "Of course you didn't," I said. "You just wanted the attention that happened to be scheduled on the same day." He sighed. "You're not going to let me live this down, are you?" I smiled. "Kyle, you've been living everything else up. I'll take this one." He laughed weakly. "Fair enough." For a second, we just stood there, two grown men surrounded by the chaos of a party that had accidentally become family therapy. And I'll admit, a part of me softened. Not enough to hug him, but enough to let him walk away with dignity still flickering. By 10 p.m., the crowd started thinning. People hugged me, said their goodbyes, and promised it was the best night ever. Mom and Dad left together, smiling and tired. Nora kissed my cheek, whispering, "You win." Sophie fell asleep in the back seat of the car, clutching a balloon. As the lights dimmed and the lake grew quiet, I stood with Marcus, staring at the embers of the fireworks fading into the sky. "Think he learned his lesson?" Marcus asked. I chuckled. "If he didn't, I've got plenty of candles left." He grinned. "So what now?" I took a deep breath, feeling the peace settle in for the first time in years. "Now," I said, "now we let the legend marinate. If revenge had a flavor, it would taste like smoked brisket and poetic justice. The kind of slow-cooked satisfaction that sticks to your ribs and makes you hum while doing the dishes the next day." That's exactly what the morning after felt like. Peaceful, absurdly quiet, and heavy with the scent of victory and maybe leftover barbecue sauce. I woke up around 9 a.m. to a kitchen that looked like a battlefield of gift bags, half-empty bottles, and confetti that had somehow made its way into the toaster. My phone was vibrating nonstop with texts, half from guests thanking me for the best night ever, and the other half from family members trying to rewrite history. "Mom, we had such a great time, honey. You always know how to bring people together." Translation: I'm pretending we didn't abandon you for Kyle. "Dad, that was a top-tier event, son. Real leadership on display." Translation: Kyle who? Even Nora had texted me from the other room. "You win. Please make coffee." I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. I made the coffee myself, of course, because victory tastes better when it's brewed by the man who earned it. As I stood there sipping from my mug, I couldn't help but reflect on the last 48 hours. Somewhere between Kyle's ego imploding and my drone show spelling, "the real MVP," something inside me had shifted. It wasn't just about getting even anymore. It was about reclaiming space, the mental, emotional, and literal kind that my family had rented out to Kyle for decades. For years, I'd been the stable one, the responsible one, the guy they called when the Wi-Fi was down or the car battery died. Kyle got the spotlight, I got the flashlight. But last night flipped the script. I didn't just get noticed, I got seen. And damn, it felt good. Nora shuffled into the kitchen wearing one of my t-shirts and holding her phone like it was radioactive. "So," she said, "apparently you're trending on local social media." "Really?" I said, pretending to be shocked. I was just trying to host a chill evening of emotional reclamation. She gave me that smile, the one she uses when she knows I'm being smug but can't argue with results. "Henry, you broke the internet." Someone posted the drone video with the caption, "When your family forgets your birthday, but you forget them back with interest." I nearly spit out my coffee. "Genius," I said. "Whoever wrote that gets a free taco from next year's party." She leaned against the counter. "You know, I owe you an apology." "You owe me several," I said, smiling. She rolled her eyes. Okay, fine. I'm sorry for underestimating you. I just didn't think you'd actually do something like this. I didn't either, I said. But apparently, petty looks good on me. She laughed softly. You really shocked everyone. Even Kyle. Especially Kyle, I corrected. Her face softened. He texted me this morning, by the way. I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. Tell Henry I'm proud of him. But also my grill broke, and it's probably his fault. She smirked. Close. He said he might have gone overboard with the whole double booking thing and that your party was, quote, next level. Next level. I repeated, pretending to think. Is that Kyle speak for, I got publicly roasted and my mother switched favorites mid-toast? Pretty much. Good, I said, sipping my coffee. The student has learned humility. Later that morning, Mom called. Her voice was warm, cautious, like she was approaching a skittish animal. Henry, sweetie, I just wanted to say last night was beautiful. Thanks, Mom. It meant a lot that you came. Well, of course we came, she said quickly. Family sticks together. I paused. Eventually, she chuckled awkwardly. Now, don't tease your brother. He means well. Mom, I said gently, you've been saying that since I was 5. Maybe it's time we stop grading him on effort and start grading him on results. She was quiet for a moment, then said, well, last night, your results spoke for themselves. Glad to hear it, I said. Next year, I'll send invites out earlier so no one accidentally schedules another festival on my birthday. Oh, don't be dramatic, she said. Mom, you literally went to the wrong event. Point taken. After we hung up, I couldn't stop smiling. It wasn't bitterness anymore. It was relief. Like I'd finally stopped trying to prove my worth to people who'd only been seeing half of it. Around noon, Marcus showed up at my door wearing sunglasses, holding 2 smoothies, and looking like a man who'd just come back from a very successful heist. Morning, legend, he said, handing me a cup. Is that for me? Nah, it's for the man of the hour, he said dramatically, then handed it to me anyway. We sat on the porch, sipping in silence for a bit. The street was quiet except for a few passing cars and the faint hum of someone mowing their lawn. Bro, Marcus finally said, last night was iconic. I've thrown weddings that didn't hit that hard. I laughed. It was something, wasn't it? Something? It was revenge poetry. You turned humiliation into a franchise. People were dancing like they got invited to happiness itself. I just wanted to feel like I mattered, I said. He smirked. You didn't just matter. You trended. There's a difference. We both laughed until I nearly choked on my smoothie. Then he got quiet. So what now? You gonna make peace with Kyle? I thought about it. Eventually. Maybe after he recovers from emotional third-degree burns. Fair, Marcus said. But admit it, you feel better. Way better, I said. It's like years of being overlooked finally got exorcised through confetti and brisket. That's deep, he said. We should put that on a t-shirt. The rest of the day was calm, almost suspiciously peaceful. No chaos, no group chat drama, no passive-aggressive comments. Just the hum of normal life. I sat on my porch again that evening. Same as the night this all started, but the silence felt different now. It wasn't lonely anymore. It was earned. The sun dipped below the trees, painting everything in orange and gold. I leaned back, took a sip of beer, and whispered to myself, you did good, man. And just when I thought the universe was done surprising me, my phone buzzed again. A new message from Kyle. Hey bro, you free tomorrow? I was thinking we grab lunch. My treat. I read it twice, then 3 times. The golden child had offered to pay. Historic. I typed back, sure, as long as it's not at your house. He replied with a laughing emoji. For once, it didn't make my blood boil. The next day, we met at a diner halfway between our houses. No crowd, no music, no fanfare. Just 2 brothers and a very confused waitress who recognized me from the party video. Kyle looked rough, like a man who'd spent the night reflecting and Googling how to recover from public embarrassment. Look, he said, stirring his coffee. I messed up. I didn't mean to hijack your birthday. I just thought that you're the center of the universe. I offered. He winced. Yeah, that. I smirked. At least you're self-aware now. He sighed. You really showed me up, man. I wasn't trying to show you up, I said. I was trying to show me up. And maybe remind everyone that I exist. He nodded slowly. You did that. Loudly. For a second, we both laughed. Real laughter. The kind that sounds like relief. Then he said, "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you." I raised an eyebrow. "You're proud of me?" "Yeah," he said. "You've always had it together, man. I just never wanted to admit it." That one hit harder than I expected. I didn't need an apology. I just needed acknowledgement. And finally, I had it. We paid the bill. Kyle actually did, shocking everyone including the waitress. And when we stepped outside, he said, "Next year, we'll do your party at my place. You plan it. I'll grill." "Deal," I said, shaking his hand. As I drove home, I couldn't help but smile. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped losing pieces of myself trying to keep the peace. That night, I sat on the same porch where it all began. Same chair, same kind of beer, different man. The air was still, the sky clear, and the faint smell of barbecue lingered in the distance like a reminder. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the forgotten brother, or the overlooked son, or the husband people took for granted. I felt balanced, seen, whole. I raised my bottle to the stars and said quietly, "Here's to second servings." Because revenge, when done right, doesn't leave a bad aftertaste. It just leaves you full.